Homeland Security and Public Safety and Veterans Affairs will come to order. The clerk will call the roll.
Chairman Hefner,
Here.
Vice Chair Lopez,
Here.
Canales, Cortez, Isaac, Durazio, Lauterbach, McLaughlin, Holt, Pearson, Hickland.
Quorum is present. Milo, you were here 29-29, right? Let me say a few more things. I got a little more to my script. Just a quick reminder, if anyone wishes to testify, please register at the kiosks located outside in the hallways. If you run into any issues or need any assistance, please let my staff up here know. We'll get you some help. Testimony, again, will be limited to 2 minutes, and I will be strict on that time limit. Once you hear the timer beep, please wrap up your remarks. We may call up more than one person at a time to help kind of expedite the testimony, but we do want to hear from everyone. Members, do y'all have any comments or questions before we get started? If not, Chair lays out House Bill 2929 and recognizes Representative De Ayala. There is a committee substitute, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, the Chair lays out the committee substitute and recognizes Representative De Ayala to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. This is the committee substitute 2929. Law enforcement frequently interact with individuals from various backgrounds and with various cognitive and developmental conditions, including autism spectrum disorder, ASD. In recent years, through training, we have been able to better identify and understand the characteristics and traits of autistic individuals. However, concerns have been raised that many officers may not receive adequate training to recognize and effectively communicate with individuals on the autism spectrum. Misunderstandings in these encounters can sometimes lead to unnecessary escalation, distress for the individual, and challenges for law enforcement officers in ensuring public safety. House Bill 2929 seeks to address this issue by providing law enforcement with specialized training on interacting with individuals diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. The training program developed by the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, TCOL, will be evidence-based and cover essential topics such as recognizing ASD characteristics, de-escalation techniques, and best practices for communication. By equipping officers with this knowledge, the bill aims to foster safer and more effective interactions between law enforcement and individuals with autism, ultimately benefiting both public safety and community trust. There's no fiscal note. I reserve my right to close, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Members, any questions? All right, we do have some witnesses.
Get me on close.
I do recognize your, reserve your right to close.
Yes.
Okay, Chair calls, is it Leslie, is it Mogul? Michelle Hines? Who's the other one? What about Wendy Dawson?
She left.
Okay. So we will show Leslie Mogul registered for the bill but not testifying, and Wendy Dawson registered for the bill but not testifying. So you registered as Michelle Hines, testifying on behalf of yourself and for the bill, is that correct?
Yes.
All righty, go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, Chairman Hefner and members of the committee. My name is Michelle Hines. I am the chairman of the Crime Stoppers of Houston NEEDS program, which stands for Neurodiversity, Education, Empower, Deliver, and Safety. I'm also the mother of a 25-year-old young man with autism. I am here today to speak both as a parent and on behalf of Crime Stoppers of Houston in strong support of House Bill 2929. Today, law enforcement in Texas receives only 30 minutes of autism training, and that is simply not enough, especially when 1 in 31 children in Texas are now being diagnosed with autism each year. And autism is a spectrum, and it presents differently in each individual. Once you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. Officers must be better prepared. The consequences of inadequate training can be tragic. Just 3 weeks ago, a nonverbal autistic teenager in Idaho with cerebral palsy who walked with an impaired gait and was carrying a kitchen knife was shot 9 times and killed by police. The teen was on the other side of the fence than police, yet officers opened fire shortly after arriving. His physical and cognitive disabilities made it impossible for him to comply quickly with commands. But tragically, the officers didn't realize that he was disabled. And now a young life is gone because the officers had not received adequate training in autism. This is exactly why autism training is urgently needed. Autistic individuals may not respond to verbal commands in the typical way. They may not make eye contact, they may become overwhelmed and shut down, or they may engage in repetitive movements. Without the proper training, officers can misinterpret these behaviors as noncompliance, defiance, or even aggression. House Bill 2929 is critical because it ensures that officers across Texas receive meaningful autism-specific training, not just a brief 30-minute overview, but real tools to help them recognize signs of autism and respond safely. This bill protects the safety of the autism community, strengthens public trust, and provides officers with the knowledge they need to serve Texans effectively. Crime Stoppers of Houston stands firmly behind House Bill 2929 because we believe it will save lives and prevent unnecessary tragedies. I respectfully urge you to pass this important legislation, and thank you for your time and your commitment to protecting all Texans. Thank you.
Thank you. Show Representative DeRazio present. Members, any questions for this witness? All righty. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Chair calls Michael Hines.
Can Nicholas go with him? He's going
Chair calls Nicholas Hines. Both of you can come up. Yeah. No problem. So I'll show you registered as Nicholas Hines, testifying on behalf of yourself and for the bill. Is that right?
Yes, sir, that's right.
Okay, go ahead with your testimony, Nicholas.
Okay. Good evening, Chairman Hefner and members of the community. My name is Nick Hines. I am 25 years old and I have autism. I'm here because HB 2929 is very personal to me. When someone has autism like me, we might act differently. We might not make eye contact. We might move our hands, or we might process our questions in a different way or answer it right away. But it doesn't mean we're dangerous. It just means we're overwhelmed or scared. Without training, police officers might misunderstand us, and sometimes that can end very badly. All we want is feel safe, to understand, to understand, to be treated with kindness and respect, just like everyone else. Please pass HB 2929. It would mean so much to people like me, and it could save lives. Thank you for listening to me today.
Well, thank you for being here, Nicholas.
No problem.
Sorry you had to wait all day, but glad you did.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, I'll show you registered as Michael Hines, testifying on behalf of yourself and for the bill. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Great. If you could pull the mic up close and go ahead and proceed with your testimony.
You bet. Good evening, Chairman Hefner and members of the community. Thank you so much for sticking around tonight. Can't believe you guys do this every night during session. My name is Mike Hines, and I'm the proud father of a 25-year-old young man named Nick, sitting right next to me. I am here today to respectfully ask that you pass House Bill 2929. Like many individuals with autism, my son communicates and reacts to the world differently. In stressful or overwhelming situations, he might not make eye contact, might move his hands, or he might not answer immediately at all. Without understanding, potentially with the training provided by this bill, these behaviors can easily be misunderstood, especially during an encounter with law enforcement. This misunderstanding can escalate quickly, like the story you just heard a few minutes ago, and sometimes turns tragic. Across our country, I've seen heartbreaking stories of autistic individuals being harmed or even killed during police interactions because police simply don't realize they were dealing with someone who has a disability, not a threat. As a father, this fear never goes away. When my son leaves the house, I worry, not because he's doing something wrong, but because maybe he might be because someone might misunderstand him. House Bill 2929 is simple, a common sense step that ensures officers across Texas have the tools they need to recognize autism, respond appropriately. It protects individuals with disabilities, and it protects officers as well. People like my son deserve to feel safe and understood. Officers deserve the training that will help them do their jobs safely and compassionately. Please support House Bill 2929. Thank you for your time and your consideration. The needs are considering some of the most vulnerable Texans. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for being here. I hope you maybe at least got to enjoy the Capitol while you waited around today.
Quite an experience.
There's no place like it. Members, any questions?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate your testimony. Chair calls.
If I can,
Yes, Vice Chair.
Real brief comment.
Vice Chair Lopez.
You asked a question, I don't know how you guys do it. The way we do this is because once in a while, we can make a difference. And we hope to make a difference here, sir. That's why we do it. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for your service. Let's go, buddy.
Any other questions, members? Thank you all for being here. Chair calls, is it Jackie Benestante? Does that sound right? Brandy Timmons? How about Marissa Iannacone? Okay, we'll show Jackie Benestante, registered, testifying on behalf of the Autism Society of Texas itself, neutral on the bill but not testifying. Brandy Timmons, registered, testifying on behalf of herself, registered as neutral but not testifying. Sorry, Brandy Timmons was registered for the bill but not testifying. And then Marissa Iannacone, testifying on behalf of Texas Council for Developmental Disabilities, registered as neutral on the bill but not testifying. Chair calls C.J. Grisham. Have you registered as C.J. Grisham, testifying on behalf of yourself and for the bill? Is that correct?
Yes, sir, and there might be two registrations. You can delete the one where I'm not testifying. 'Cause I changed it to testifying.
Okay, great. Go ahead and proceed.
So really quick, because it's going to be a late night, I support this bill. My name is C.J. Grisham. I'm here to support HB 2929 on my own behalf. I had to stop doing these kinds of cases because I get very emotional, and I withdrew from one where I had a client who was autistic, and he was watching individuals play volleyball, and some of those individuals were teens, but he's just watching them play volleyball, and they called the police, and they felt a little creeped out because this guy who's physically about 26 years old, but mentally a lot less than that. The police show up and they start asking him questions, and he's initially answering the questions, and then they tried to identify him, and he didn't want to identify, and he eventually handed over his card. He's like, "But I want that back," and you can tell through his speech he's autistic. So they take his identification, and they're trying to ask him questions. He's not really understanding. They grabbed him. They grabbed his arm, which freaked him out completely freaked him out. So he's thrashing around. Then they go to tackle him. The officer tackles him. He's trying to crawl away through the sand, yelling, "Please don't kill me, please don't kill me." As he's going away, the next officer shows up on the scene, starts tasing him. Why? Because he was watching people in volleyball or playing volleyball in the beach. This kind of training is necessary. When I watched the video of this poor kid, he's not a kid, he's 26 years old, but he's a kid to me. And they charged him, by the way, they charged him with felony assault on a peace officer. That's what he got charged with, felony assault on a peace officer. So I think this is going to fix that kind of problem. I wish I could bring these kinds of videos to show you the difference that HB 2929 is going to make. But I had to withdraw from that case because I was too emotionally invested. It was so angering for me that I couldn't continue with it. But I support this bill, thank you, and I hope you can report it favorably.
Thank you for your testimony. Members, questions? All right, Mr. Grisham, thank you for being here. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on, for, or against House Bill 2929? If not, Chair recognizes Representative De Ayala to close on the measure.
Let me just say that this bill provides 2 hours, and it can be online, and it's, of course, it's already done. We need to balance. We can't make our peace officers be PhDs in everything. It's too big of an ask. There's a balance here, right? What is the right type of training and the right circumstances for this job? And everybody wants to train all the time, and I understand the reluctance in that. This has been worked on very closely with law enforcement to make sure it's the right measured amount where we have shortage in peace officers and shortage in this, especially in these big communities. So to better understand the person you're engaging with, and if you get to understand them better, the better the outcome, period, the end, no matter what. This is a reasonably good step to help in that outcome. Happy to take any questions that I close.
Just, were you, during this training, were they able to, was TICO able to say if it would be able to work into their existing hours of training, or would it be additional, or was that able to be
Because there's already
determined?
30, this may be an additional hour and a half, but it can be, again, not in person. It can be virtual, it can be video. But I don't know in that bucket of hours whether this would take any more of that existing bucket or not. I know that it wouldn't be any more than 1.5 hours more total net.
To get the 2 hours, so
To get
some
the
of
2
it's
hours.
worth it, okay. Mayor McLaughlin?
What about some of the academies, some of these academies, are they implementing this? I mean, like, we have a law enforcement academy in Uvalde, are they implementing this where they can teach those
Well,
cadets already?
I think we might have some resource witnesses on that. I don't know that in that much detail. I wish I did. I know that there's a mental health component in the training. It's not focused so much on this. The reason this one makes the most sense to single out is because it is the largest basket of people that are different. There's people that are different for a lot of other reasons. This is the largest basket of those people. And so if we can hone in on that, we can just have better outcomes, de-escalation easier. That's the goal here. Without trying to overburden our law enforcement. And this, there was a lot that went into making this as measured as possible.
Okay, members, any other questions? Sheriff Louderback.
Your mic.
Thank you, Chairman. I think this is going to be a part of the 40-hour crisis intervention training module. I think they can make it work, and TICO is on board with this, obviously. So I don't think the training is going to be arduous for agencies to impact. And we're looking at once a year, every 2 years, in the training cycle. So within the 2-year training cycle, which is a 40-hour requirement for ongoing education, it'll be in that.
All right, members, any other questions?
Good, Bill. Thank you.
All righty, the chair withdraws the committee substitute for House Bill 2929. If there's no objection, the bill will be left pending. Is there objection? Hearing none, the bill is left pending. Don't go far. Chair lays out House Bill 3649. Representative recognizes Representative De Ayala to explain the measure. Fire away.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, today I'm presenting House Bill 3649, a measure designed to enhance the recognition and support of states' peace officers by updating certain definitions and classifications within our government code. Schedule C is a classification on the pay scale used to compensate state employees. It outlines the salary structure for various law enforcement positions, including DPS, Texas Rangers, and other commissioned personnel. TCOL has identified and brought to my attention certain peace officers on their staff that would benefit from being placed in that Schedule C classification. Recruitment and retention issues are plaguing law enforcement across Texas, and increasing these positions to more competitive pay scale would greatly benefit law enforcement operations in Texas. This bill also adds peace officers from TCOL to the list of officers eligible for injury leave benefits, and it would expand hazard duty pay and injury leave benefits to officers commissioned by TCOL. This was an exceptional item in the budget that TCOL requested and was granted to them. It will affect 25 officers in the TCOL Oversight Division. I reserve my right to close, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Members, any questions?
Yes.
I believe we have a couple of resource witnesses. Okay, we'll reserve your right to close and call up a couple of witnesses. Chair calls Greg Stevens. Who else we got? Who's it? All righty, we show you registered as Greg Stevens, testifying on behalf of Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, testifying neutral. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm Greg Stevens, the Executive Director with the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. Thank you, Representative Ayala, for supporting us on this bill. We have 25 commissioned peace officers as part of the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, and you all are, I think, relatively familiar with our mission statement, which is the regulation of law enforcement across the state of Texas, the agency standards, as well as ensuring that mandatory training is, that officers adhere to the mandatory training in their every 2-year training cycle. Along with our civilian staff, those 25 officers are responsible for the oversight and regulation of 119,000 licensees, to include the peace officers, the telecommunicators, and the county jailers in about 2,800 law enforcement agencies across the state. And the agency is seeking to change in legislation and with corresponding funds to compensate our peace officers at a rate consistent with their peers at other state agencies by moving their pay classification into Schedule C, designed for commissioned law enforcement positions. TCOL is not seeking to be added to the LECO supplemental retirement fund. Classifying our officers consistent with Schedule C would greatly expand the statewide pool of qualified applicants attracted to working for the agency and increase the willingness of candidates to relocate to work at the Austin headquarters as well as other regional postings across the state. Again, I've been up here a few times in front of you guys. One of our biggest challenges is recruiting right now as we grow, as we look to meet our mission across the state in what is arguably a sea change in law enforcement from our sunset legislation. We're working hard to implement those changes, and I need to be able to hire the very best of the best to implement that. This is my prepared remarks, and I'm happy to answer any questions if I can.
Chair recognizes Representative Louderback.
Thank you, Chairman. Chief, it may be beneficial when you say Schedule C. Can you start maybe at trooper level, what schedule they are, and then work your way down? Kind of, or however you want to do it, but just kind of define what you're asking for with the different schedules of pay for the state.
probably one of our commissioners that knows more about that, the way that troopers are in their in other state agencies. I'm less familiar with what that schedule is. Right now, our peace officers are in B. Moving them up to C would make them would align them with game wardens, state troopers, TDBC, other peace officers across the state. There's only a handful of state peace officers that are not in Schedule C, and so again, the overall effort is to sort of level us up with our peers across the state. I'm not sure if that answers your question.
It does. It's a good start. So at level B where you are now,
Right.
what does that entail? What does that mean as to their duties and what they're able to do? They're still licensed. They're still commissioned.
Absolutely. Our peace officers are fully licensed peace officers. Again, they're commissioned under Chapter 1701 of the Occupations Code to specifically carry out and administer that chapter, 1701. So we don't answer calls for service. We don't do the traditional law enforcement role. We essentially perform more of the internal affairs job, if you will, across the state. When agencies don't follow the rules in terms of who they can hire and who they can't, that's something that we look at whenever an individual licensee doesn't meet their training standards. We look into that. On occasions, more rarely, we may file criminal charges. We more often refer that to other law enforcement agencies. We're more restricted, if you will, to do oversight with law enforcement agencies. However, it is, all of our folks are, they typically, we don't hire any rookies. Like, we don't take anyone straight out of the academy. Everyone that we hire has a number of years of experience, and specifically investigative experience or experience in the training environment. They've worked in a police academy somewhere, and so we pull those folks in. Where we sit right now, we're not as competitive, so we typically have to go to a much more narrow pool of folks that are eligible to retire already from another agency, like myself. So they're already drawing a pension, and we have really good folks. However, that's a narrow group to go and look for to find the high-quality applicants, because I think you all recognize that to do what we do, I have to have somebody with an impeccable background. One of my folks, they have to be able to sit across the desk from a sheriff, from a police chief, from a training coordinator, and have hard conversations whenever that agency or that academy is not living up to the standards, the new minimum standards that you all set for us under our Sunset Bill. Right, that's a difficult job, and I have to have the best of the best, and so I really need that competitive salary. I'm still going to look for people that might be ready to retire from another agency. I still need them to have gas in the tank. I don't need people retired on duty. But I would like to be able to also look at folks that only have 12 years, 15 years at an agency. They've got a lot of experience, an impeccable record, and I want to be able to pull them in as well. But I need a competitive salary to do that. Right now, that's difficult. At the Schedule B, I really am narrowly looking for people that already have a pension, so they sort of double dip, if you will.
So, Chief, as citizens see law enforcement, they're not aware that they have certain things they can't do. And I think we've had discussions about where over the past several sessions we're looking to try to consolidate that, where when you see a peace officer today, whether it be a trooper, deputy, or city police officer, or someone, they may be in an administrative role, maybe doing something else, but they have full law enforcement duties, they have full pay, and they're on equal footing with wherever they go. Does that make sense?
It does.
So I think that may help the committee try to figure this out. But you, as the training agency and in charge of licensing here for the state of Texas, I think it's imperative that you're able to hire the best of the best, because we've got to have trainers, and we've got to have the types of folks in TCOL that are the best of the best to protect the image, protect the badge, and you've heard me say that before here. But I think these are critical areas to build trust and build the kind of profession that we want to have and continue to have.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Members, any other questions? All righty, Mr. Stevens, thank you for being here.
I appreciate y'all's time as always. Thank you.
Chair calls Jason Hester. I have you registered as Jason Hester, testifying on behalf of yourself and for the bill. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
All righty, please proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members. For the record, my name is Jason Hester. I'm here representing myself for the bill. I am one of the 9 governor's-appointed commissioners for the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, currently serving as the assistant presiding officer. Director Stevens covered a lot of the information there with that. This was one of our exceptional items that was driven by the commissioners that we were looking for the agency. I'm on my 11th year, almost 12th year as a commissioner. And I can say out of the 25 officers we have in my tenure that I've been there, there's probably only about 5 that have stayed. Pay is one of those issues. Because of what, like Director Stevens said, we typically get somebody toward the end of their career, they've already retired. Longevity is a little bit of an issue. And by making this more competitive, we hope that we can get more longevity out of our officers. It's not going to bring down anything of what we currently ask for our officers. We're always going to be looking for the best of the best, as you said. Representative Auerbach, as to your question on where it is, the C still starts at probationary trooper, sergeant, investigator, lieutenant, captain, major. The majority of the officers at TCO would start at the agent or sergeant position, and that's where the bulk of that would lie, because they are doing those investigations and those complex investigations that Director Stevens was talking about. That is it, since he covered a lot of that stuff and went before me, but I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Members, any questions? All righty, Commissioner, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak on, for, or against House Bill 3649? If not, the chair recognizes Representative De Ayala to close on the bill.
Mr. Chairman, members, thank you for allowing me to present this. Ask that you look on it favorably, and with that, I close.
Members, any questions? All right, if there's no objection, the bill will be left pending. Is there objection? Hearing none, the bill is left pending. Chair lays out HCR 118 and recognizes Representative DeRazio to explain his resolution. You can do it right there. Or down.
Thank you, Chairman Hefner and members. This is HCR 118. When I first drafted HCR 118, the President had called in public appearances for an increase in United States maritime production capabilities. This call was in response primarily to the People's Republic of China's huge growing Navy. By some estimates, their fleet will be larger than the United States Navy by 2030. I wrote this resolution with the idea that soon there would be concrete steps taken at the federal level, and that our state needed to be ready to take advantage of an increased shipbuilding in the United States. As it turns out, things are moving faster than I anticipated. Just 3 weeks ago, on April the 9th, President Trump issued an executive order 14207, which calls for the creation of a maritime action plan, which will revitalize the shipbuilding industry across the country. The Congressional Budget's Office 2025 shipbuilding plan will grow the United States Navy by 100 ships in the next 29 years. And the Maritime Action Plan will increase civilian ship manufacturing as well. The civil and military shipbuilding industry is about to experience a boom. This boom is not limited to just making of the ships, but will also boost the industry needed to support that effort. HCR 118 is Texas' first step to taking advantage of this boom and supporting our country in this time of need. Mr. Chairman, I reserve my right to close and will take questions.
Members, any questions? All right, we don't have anyone. Is there anyone wishing to speak on, for, or against HCR 118? If not, Chair recognizes Representative DeRazio to close on the resolution.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to lay this thing out. And I think in Texas, we have 11 deep sea ports, and there's a lot of warships that need built. I want to see aircraft carriers. I want to see submarines, frigates. I want to see all them ships built in Texas. I mean, we're talking billions of dollars. With that, I close.
All righty. Members, any questions? If there's no objection, the resolution will be left pending. Is there objection? Hearing none, the resolution is left pending. Show Representative Isaac present. Finally. Chair lays out House Bill 1065 and recognizes Representative DeRazio to explain the bill. There's a committee substitute, is that correct?
We received it from Ledge Council draft of our committee substitute late last night,
Okay.
and we were unable to attempt to get it to the committee to review the draft.
Okay, so are we laying out the substitute, or we've got it and have it distributed?
Okay, good.
Yes,
we'll just-
so Chair lays out the committee substitute, recognizes Representative DeRazio to explain his bill.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. House Bill 1065 seeks to address the issues of certain security guard companies misclassifying their employees as contractors, basically 1099 contractors. Security guard companies are regulated by the Texas Department of Public Safety, DPS. The companies must register their guards with DPS as employees under the company's license. In order to work legally in Texas, all security guards must come under a company license. They are therefore considered employees under the Texas DPS rules, Texas Workforce Commission rules, and the Federal Internal Revenue Service rules. The security guard companies are required to maintain liability insurance coverage for their guards, require criminal background checks, and undergo training. Many guard companies are circumventing state and federal law by classifying their guards as contract labor. There are no situations in which a security guard company can legally classify their security guard employees as contract labor. Many guard companies are illegally paying their guards with cash or misclassifying them as contract labor and sending the guard a 1099 form at the end of the year. By doing so, they are violating state and federal law and placing the public at risk. These security guards may not be covered by liability insurance, may have criminal histories and no training, and the companies misclassifying their employees are not collecting state and federal payroll taxes on the employees. HB 1065 will require DPS during their regular audits of these companies to inspect the employment records and ensure the employees are not being misclassified. If the DPS auditor determines that they may be misclassifying these employees as contract labor, DPS will notify the Workforce Commission on the possible violation. I am happy to answer any questions and reserve my right to close, and I think that we have a couple of witnesses that are deeply involved in this and can speak to it better than I could.
Okay, members, any questions? All right, we'll reserve your right to close. Chair calls Keith Oakley. Chair calls Alex Smith.
Alex had to go home.
Alex had to go. Okay, so we have Alex testifying, registered as Alex Smith, registered for the bill but not testifying. And Mr. Oakley, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. I'm Keith Oakley. I'm here representing ASSIST, Associated Security Services and Investigators of the State of Texas. It is the guard company association in Texas, and they very much support Representative DeRazio's bill, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Members, Representative Louderback.
How you doing, Keith?
Good. How are you, sir?
Good to see you. So let's run through a couple of scenarios right quick. I don't want to get into a lengthy discussion here, but I'm running a security company. So I have employees, but I also have contractors that come to work, and they do spot on things they do events by contract. So what does a security company have to do? Because several of us on this committee have been dealing with security companies, which felt like this was a change from the Biden administration put in place that the Trump administration hasn't changed back yet. But when Trump was in the first term, he changed this. He changed something along with this thing. Is what we're being told. So do you have any knowledge about that, or anything that's going on there?
No, sir.
So really, what this is going to accomplish what for us?
We've got a bunch of guard companies out there that are
This is private security.
yes, sir.
Okay.
Private security companies that are telling their guards, their security officers, that they're contract labor and they're not going to do any withholding. And so by that, they are oftentimes not insured because some insurance companies provide the liability insurance based on the number of employees. So the company's saying, no, we don't have those employees. And there is no scenario where you can put a security guard in your uniform on post and them not be a W-2 employee. There's no scenario.
Okay, so simply, if they have a group of employees that they're treating as 1099 employees,
Yes, sir.
and so circumventing paying them the extra taxes and different things that they should be paying.
Yes, sir.
And that's the whole purpose of the bill.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Members, any other questions? All right, Mr. Oakley, thank you for being
Thank
here.
you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak on, for, or against House Bill 1065? If not, the chair recognizes Representative DeRacio to close on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I could interject, we in my industry, in construction industry, we went into the same thing, where subcontractors, they would be 1099 and they would have dominion and control. And after a year or 2 or 3 years of paying somebody a subcontract, then all of a sudden the individual, unbeknownst to him, gets hit with all of the FICA taxes, which is 15.35%, and then plus penalties, plus interest on top of that. So it's not at all uncommon by the end of a couple of years for an individual, unbeknown to them, to get hit with that bill. Could be $5,000, $8,000, $10,000, and I have experienced that happening to people. So this is why this bill would be important, because some of the younger individuals and older individuals that think they're going to go ahead and contract don't have a clue of the penalties and interest that are going to hit them. So I'll just contract labor and you just pay your own taxes, and they think it's no big deal. But then when they get that 1099, that 1099 goes to the IRS. It's a big deal, and it hurts them. It hurts people quite a bit. The only other way to handle that is just get rid of the Social Security and the income tax.
Yeah, that's easy. So one quick question.
Representative Louderback?
So thank you, Chairman. So one thing that to prevent these companies from doing that, is there going to be DPS going to be doing any kind of work in this area to check on how they're working their employees?
Well,
Is that planned later on?
I'm not sure. That's a good question. But according to the bill, the way I understand it is the DPS is going to conduct audits on the security companies, and then they're going to use like in our industry, they're going to use what they call dominion and control. Dominion and control is, do you tell that individual where to work, what time they have to be there, how late they can work, what time they can leave, and whenever you have that kind of a control over an individual, you have dominion and control, and therefore, in the eyes of the Workforce Commission, they are an employee. And we spent 3 years in court on that very same issue. It was dominion and control, and so that's how they're gonna view it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Representative McLaughlin?
So let me ask you,
Now, you're not supposed to ask me questions.
okay. Well, I mean, most of your security companies have an insurance policy. Most of them that have employees have insurance that have a workman's comp policy or what? I mean, We all have to have it if we're gonna be in business and do it. Now, the way I understand in my business, if I hire somebody for a day or I hire for them a week, the moment I hire them, whether it's contract or whatever, something happens, they're under my workman's comp. I mean, I've had that happen.
That's correct. A true independent contractor has to be able to prove to you beyond a shadow of a doubt that they're independent. They got to give you, they could fill out a W-9.
Yeah.
But then they have to prove it. Do they have a business card? Do they represent themselves to somebody else doing the same services? And so as long as you can prove that chain of custody,
Yeah, I mean, if they're gonna be contract, we can't give them anything.
That's
They have
right.
to provide all their own materials, everything.
Well, no,
Contract.
under a contract situation, you can provide materials, and you can contract for service or labor if they provide that same service.
Yeah, but I mean, if they're tools or whatever, they have to have their own tools. I can't provide them my tools
Oh,
if they
that's-
become an employee.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Okay.
All right, members, any other questions? All right, the chair withdraws the committee substitute for House Bill 1065. If there's no objection, the bill will be left pending. Is there objection? Hearing none, the bill is left pending.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chair lays out House Bill 5308 and recognizes Vice Chairman Lopez to explain Chairman Cortez's bill.
That's correct. Thank you very much. Good evening, Chairman Hefner and members, and those of you that are left out in the audience, good evening to you, and thank you for sticking with us. And thank you for the opportunity to lay out House Bill 5308 for your consideration this evening. The Adjutant General has been designated as a public authority and has the authority for all actions related to construction, rental, control, maintenance, operation, and disposition of Texas Military Department facilities, real estate, property, and equipment, virtually everything, material-wise. The current requirement is to have all action under $100,000 reviewed by the Comptroller. House Bill 5308 clarifies and affirms that that procedure related to construction is among the powers designated to the TAG after the Texas Military Facility Commission was abolished in 2007. This revision is consistent with the goals of increasing efficiency and reducing redundancy and unnecessary processes within the state government. I appreciate your time and thank you for your consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions that I can, and I reserve my right to close.
Members, any questions? All right, we'll reserve your right to close. Chair calls Brian Stevens. I show you registered as Brian Stevens, testifying on behalf of the Texas Military Department and neutral on the bill. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
All right, please go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished members of the committee, thank you. My name is Brian Stevens. I'm the Deputy Director for Construction and Facilities Management for the Texas Military Department. I'm here as a resource witness and happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding this bill.
All right, members, any questions on this bill? All right, I guess not. We appreciate you being here.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on, for, or against House Bill 5308? If not, the chair recognizes Vice Chair Lopez to close on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I close.
If there's no objection, the bill will be left pending. Is there objection? Hearing none, the bill is left pending. Chair lays out House Bill 4956 and recognizes Representative Isaac to explain her bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. House Bill 4956 creates a certification requirement for peace officers conducting polygraph examinations in Texas. Right now, Texas law permits officers to administer these tests without consistent training or testing requirements. That sometimes can be problematic because polygraphs are frequently used in pre-employment screenings, criminal investigations, and TICO feels like standardizing regulations would help law enforcement better use polygraph technology and ensure that a consistent level of these expertise and authorization is applied. I do have a substitute.
Okay, the chair lays out the committee substitute. Is there any objection to the substitute? All right. Chair lays out the committee substitute and recognizes Representative Isaac to explain.
The committee sub for House Bill 4956 authorizes the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, or TCOL, to develop rules establishing minimum training and testing certification requirements for officers conducting these exams. The substitute simply removes the language that requires peace officers be certified to conduct polygraph examinations for post-conviction sex offender treatment. This specific type of examination is a function of treatment and not a law enforcement role. So there is a joint polygraph committee on offender testing that sets guidelines and these standards for this particular type of testing. In short, House Bill 4956 will help law enforcement maintain public trust by ensuring that polygraphs are administered by professionals who meet clear, consistent standards. If there are no further questions, I reserve the right to close.
Members, any questions? All right, we'll reserve your right to close. Chair calls Lieutenant Colonel Walt Goodson and Greg Stevens. I show you registered as Walt Goodson, testifying on behalf of the Texas Department of Public Safety and neutral. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I show you registered as Greg Stevens, testifying on behalf of Texas Commission on Law Enforcement and neutral on the bill. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All righty. Go ahead, Colonel.
Chairman, members, thank you for your time. Walt Goodson, for the record, Lieutenant Colonel, Texas Department of Public Safety, again. Testify neutral on the bill, here to answer any questions that you might have.
Members, y'all have any questions for Lieutenant Colonel Goodson? All right. Hearing none. Mr. Stevens?
Again, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair, members, my name is Greg Stevens. I'm the Executive Director with the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. Here to answer any questions you might have about this bill.
Members, any questions? Representative DeRazio.
Yes, I just have one question either of you can answer. Who will provide the training and the certification?
So the training happens in a couple of ways. First of all, for generally, the American Polygraph Association lays out standards for a polygraph examiner. That's generally a 10 to 11 week polygraph course by a course accredited or recognized by either the American Polygraph Association or the American Association of Police Polygraphists. The continuing education is offered by the Department of Public Safety, but the vast majority of training that's carried out in the state of Texas is by one of two entities. TAPE, the Texas Association of Polygraph Examiners, and secondly, the Texas Association of Law Enforcement Polygraph Investigators. It's a mouthful, it's called TLEPI. Those are the two main entities that provide continuing education for polygraph examiners across the state.
Okay, I was just curious, so thank you very much for that.
Vice Chair Lopez.
Hi, yes, could you just tell me, generally speaking, what is the caseload per, I mean, are we backlogged on polygraph examiners, or how's that?
No, no, sir. So speaking on behalf of the Texas Department of Public Safety, we have 17 polygraph examiners. The vast majority of those polygraphs that we administer are for local law enforcement partners.
So it's basically giving those individuals some level of certification or special qualifications. Is that what this bill would do?
No, sir, not at all. So just in the 87th, the Polygraph Act was removed under sunset from TDLR. That removed any oversight for polygraph in the state of Texas. Essentially, anybody now in the state can purport themselves to be a polygraph examiner and run tests. What we have seen across the state in the last 4 years is an erosion of any continuing education across the state. These associations that offer those that I just previously mentioned, they're seeing a drastic decline in folks that are actually attending training, and more importantly, the department has recognized that we specifically are getting more and more requests by district attorneys to ask the Department of Public Safety to do quality assurance reviews of polygraphs administered for those courts to review, which signals to us there may be a distrust in those tests.
So that tells me that then perhaps all that, those polygraphs really become evidence in whatever case it happens to be required for, and that could certainly put a negative implication on that case. So that's the Would you say that that's the most important part of, or a big part of why we need to get something like this done?
Correct. Most criminal tests are on sex cases, usually involving crimes against children. Most of those are sexual abuse cases where you have very little physical evidence, and polygraph and those interviews around polygraph are relied on heavily to adjudicate those cases.
Okay, great. Thank you. That explains it. Thank you so much.
All right. Representative McLaughlin?
I think you answered this, but the question I'd have, are most of these polygraphs, are they civilian employees or are they law enforcement employees?
That administer the test or receive the test?
Administer it.
So in the Department of Public Safety specifically, they're all commissioned officers. Across the state, it's about an even distribution of law enforcement polygraph examiners and private examiners. A vast majority of the private examiners that exist either came from a federal agency or they came from law enforcement just because of their barrier entry and the training requirements. Most of them tend to learn that skill or that trade through a career either in the federal government or in a law enforcement agency.
Well, no, so I agree with you. The federal and the law enforcement, like the others, do any of these go through a background check if they're not law enforcement or anything before they give these, they get that license?
The American Polygraph Association does require that there is a background conducted, and there's I know they can't have a felony, or I think it's a pretty high standard, but yes, sir, there is a background that is conducted before anybody would enter a polygraph school.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, that is the key to why we, from our perspective, feel like this would be necessary, because as it sits right now, anyone can just start doing polygraphs without such a background. But in order to get the certification that TCOL would provide, we would base that on the fact that they went to one of these two training outlets. So we know that that background was conducted or their prior law enforcement. So we ensure that when a law enforcement polygraph is given for a criminal investigation or pre-employment of a police officer or law enforcement officer, it's done by someone with that type of background.
Sure, I like that.
Yes, sir.
Sheriff Louderback.
So, Chief Major, I think it's appropriate to say that here in 2025, this is a necessary move that we have to do to again protect the badge. Thank you,
Yes, sir.
Well, on occasion, there's a few that these gentlemen have run into, and I've run into. You know, it's that happens.
Members, any other questions for these witnesses? Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on, for, or against House Bill 4956? If not, the chair, where'd my page go? Do what? Chair recognizes Representative Isaac to close on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members.
Briefly.
I ask for your favorable consideration. If there are no further questions, I close.
The chair withdraws the committee substitute. Is there any objection? The bill will be left pending. Is there objection? Hearing none, the bill is left pending. Chair lays out House Bill 4993. Recognizes Representative Isaac to explain her bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. Thank you for considering House Bill 4993, the Texas Military Force Health and Readiness Act. Our Texas military forces, the Army National Guard, Air National Guard, the State Guard, stand ready to protect Texas in times of crisis whenever it is a hurricane, a border emergency, or a national defense call-up. But readiness requires more than courage. It requires health, fitness, and resilience. Recent federal reviews have spotlighted systematic decline in physical fitness and rising obesity among several members. Simultaneously, barriers to readiness such as limited gym access and insufficient nutrition persist, especially for geographically dispersed and part-time personnel. Today, we face a real growing readiness crisis. 68% of our service members nationally are overweight or obese. Guardsmen train only 39 days a year versus 257 for active duty. Fitness programs have been tried and failed due to poor design, lack of access, and inadequate accountability. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has been outspoken about the urgent need to enhance military fitness standards. His recent statement underscores the importance of physical readiness and national security. On April 2nd, he welcomed Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to the Pentagon, pledging that together we will ensure our warfighters are healthy and fit to fight. He said, to be lethal, you have to trust that the warriors alongside you in battle are truly physically capable of doing what is necessary under fire. You need to be fit, not fat, sharp, not shabby, especially our leaders. House Bill 4993 directly addresses these challenges and delivers real solution. This bill will address fitness standards, lays out how the Texas Military Department will improve and support physical fitness across Texas military forces. Digital and health integration platform directs the Texas Military Department to build a modern digital system to support the health and readiness of service members. A comprehensive wellness support program. This section requires that the Texas Military Department to create a comprehensive integrated health and resilience program for service members. Performance recognition framework establishes a structured program to reward and recognizes Texas Military Services members and units for outstanding fitness performance. Accountability and reporting requirements ensures the Texas Military Department is held accountable for the effectiveness of its fitness and wellness programs under this legislation. Here's what it does. Sorry, I won't go into all that. Funding agreement with private entities provides the Texas Military Department with the financial flexibility and partnership authority needed to successfully implement a health and readiness program created for this bill. Mr. Chairman and members, if we are going to ask our guardsmen and women to serve with excellence, we must give them the tools they need to succeed. House Bill 4993 is a smart, cost-effective investment in the health, strength, and security of our Texans. I respectfully ask for your support, and I'm happy to answer any questions and reserve the right to close.
Any witnesses on this one? All right, members, any questions? All right, I believe we have a witness or two. All right, Colonel, I don't want to mess your name up, but I'm going to give this a shot. Chair calls Theo Unbehagen. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. Show you registered testifying on behalf of the Texas Military Department and neutral on the bill. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All righty, please proceed.
Good evening, Chairman, distinguished members. Thank you for your time. I'm here as a resource and available for any questions you may have.
Members, any questions? Vice Chair Lopez.
Thank you, Chairman. Colonel, thanks for being here this evening. My days in the Army are long gone. A long time ago when I ETS'd, and I probably have not been as good a shape as I was when I was active and when I was in the military. But I remember back in those days, especially being a retention and enlistment NCO that I was, we were always making sure that our troops knew what they needed to do to be able to get promoted, to be able to hang on to the job that they had, and we did efficiency rating reports all the time on them to make sure that they were physically able and capable. Has any of that changed?
No, sir. There are standards that are published via DOD. Texas Military Department follows those standards. The fitness programs are governed by the regulations and the standards, and every soldier and airman, guardsman have the opportunity to meet those standards.
And are the soldiers and, made to adhere to that? Is there anything that's missing to, do we need a law? I guess that's what I want to talk about, to make you kind of enforce what it is that we need to have our military folks in good shape? What seems to be, what are we trying to fix here?
Well, again, there's programs of record, there's standards already published. It's not me to say if we need a law to, maintain that focus on fitness. However, I do know that there's standards already to be met, and there's programs to allow soldiers and airmen to meet those standards.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, it seems like, you know, there's a law here which certainly underscores everything we want to have happen with our military. But I was kind of surprised that we're not doing that without a law, that we're doing that just simply because, you know, there's a mandate for us to be able to perform our jobs. Recognizing that reservists perhaps, or part-timers perhaps, may slough off a little bit, but we have standards to make sure that they're not sloughing off, that they are able to perform their duties. So let me go to the next portion of this. So what happens if one of our soldiers or Marines or airmen or whatever we have don't meet the particular physical standard? What happens to them relative to their position in the military? They get kicked out? What kind of discharge? Or are they put on a program? What's the process?
So, your last point, sir, they're put on a program for, just like anything, you fail a standard, you're provided time for remedial training. In this case, physical fitness is what we're talking about. But also, you know, the bill addresses mental fitness as well, the holistic health and fitness. So as we have endured different things through different deployments, et cetera, you also have that mental fitness that you may have a down period in your time in service. You provide those resources and programs to get back to mental health as well, much the same as physical fitness. So no, you're not kicked out of the military. You're given a chance to
remediate,
meet those standards.
Good. Well, I appreciate that, and that kind of makes me feel a little bit better. I mean, I see somebody sitting in front of me with, you know, your airborne medals, your combat infantry badge, and all that kind of stuff. Pretty fit fella. And if you were standing in front of me and I was one of your troops, you told me to get in shape, I would. And I was hoping that we would just simply be able to do that and not have to pass laws to tell people to do what they're supposed to be doing, that they would certainly be enforced by individuals like yourself. But, I mean, if a law is required to get that done, I guess that's what we do. But thank you very much for being here this evening. And thank you, Chairman.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Representative McLaughlin? Representative DeRacio, then McLaughlin.
Thank you. I just have one question. Have other states set standards for their forces?
So, say that again, sorry.
Have other states set standards for their forces?
Other states. All states within the National Guard adhere to the DoD set standards for physical training.
Okay.
So it's all common.
Okay, all right.
So
Thank you.
Okay.
First Colonel, thank you for your service. The question I would ask, and I may show my ignorance here, but I guess when we're talking about Texas military forces, basically that's reserve officers for our military forces?
National Guardsmen.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, we've all seen, and we've seen quite a bit of them in South Texas with the Operation Lone Star and so forth going on. Do you think we're as stringent as we should be with our fitness with our officers today? Or, and I mean no disrespect to any servicemen, but have we gotten a little lax?
In my opinion,
Yes,
I do not think that we've gotten lax in our implementation to ensure that we enforce the standards of fitness, both physical and mental fitness.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Members, any other questions? All righty, Colonel, thank you for being here. We appreciate your testimony.
Thank you.
Chair calls Eamon Blair. Sure, we got more. Chair calls Joel Romo. Joel Romo is registered for the bill but not testifying. Patrick Hitchens. All right, Eamon, I'll show you. Am I saying that right, Eamon?
Ammon. It's all right. Remember
Okay.
ham and eggs.
Yes, sir. Well, you know the drill. Show you registers Ammon Blair testifying on behalf of Texas Public Policy Foundation for the bill. And go ahead.
All right, sir. Chairman Hefner, Vice Chairman Lopez, and distinguished members of the committee. My name is Ammon Blair, and I'm a senior fellow at the Texas Public Policy Foundation. I'm honored to appear before you today in strong support of House Bill 4993. I bring 22 years of military experience, including service in the United States Army and the Texas Army National Guard. The Texas military forces are facing a deteriorating readiness environment that threatens both state and national security imperatives. Although the Army and Air National Guard operate under dual federal and state authority, it is the state of Texas that holds the statutory responsibility to train these forces to meet the readiness standards set by the federal government. A study released just last week by the American Security Project found that more than 2/3 of Guard and Reserve members are now classified as overweight or obese. This compromises not only their ability to deploy, but also their day-to-day operational readiness. The study warns that the Guard's ability to respond rapidly to national security threats and domestic emergencies is in serious jeopardy unless urgent reforms are implemented. In Texas, part-time Guardsmen train a fraction of the time compared to active duty. They are spread across vast distances, often without access to adequate training facilities, wellness programs, or basic fitness infrastructure. Unlike the active duty, the Guard operates with persistent disparities in funding, support services, and oversight. Wellness programs go underutilized, accountability is virtually non-existent, and time for physical training is painfully limited. The result, a force unfit, underprepared, and unable to meet the demands of today's missions. Secretary Hegseth sounded the alarm over these findings, stating, this is completely unacceptable. This is what happens when standards are ignored, and this is what we are changing. Real fitness and weight standards are here. We will be fit, not fat. House Bill 4993 delivers that change. It establishes clear, enforceable fitness standards. Aligned with mission requirements, it ensures every service member, regardless of geography, has access to real training support, digital health tools, and comprehensive wellness services. It embeds accountability through quarterly legislative reporting and corrective action plans. And most importantly, it restores the warrior ethos by rewarding performance, not just compliance. This is not a pilot or a platitude. It is a fully developed, scalable solution that equips Texas to lead the nation in rebuilding readiness from the ground up. I yield to any questions.
Members, questions? All righty, Ammon, thank you for your testimony. Yes. Yes. Show your registered as Patrick Hitchens, testifying on behalf of, is that FitChimp Inc.? And
LPM Lab is our
LPM
DBA.
Lab? It's in there too? And for the bill, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All righty, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman Hefner, Vice Chairman Lopez, and distinguished members of the committee. My name is Patrick Hitchens. I'm the founder and CEO of LPM Lab. It's a Texas-based company located just a few blocks away from here at the Center for Defense Innovation, where I work daily with men and women from the innovation units of the Army, Navy, and Air Force. I'm honored to testify today in strong support of House Bill 4993. This bill is not just about investing in the health of our service members. It's about Texas taking the lead in solving a military readiness crisis with homegrown innovation. HB 4993 gives Texas the opportunity to become the first state in the nation to scale a military-grade AI-powered human performance platform developed by veterans, physicians, and engineers right here in Texas for the benefit of Texas military forces. Our solution is already in operational use by the U.S. Air Force. We've already worked with TMD in 2019 through 2020. HEB Grocery, I think y'all are familiar with them, has been a customer of ours for nearly a decade, 8 years, and we've worked to support the health and performance of over 130,000 employees. Our platform already meets Department of Defense cybersecurity standards, integrates with every major wearable device, and enables commanders to monitor unit readiness trends in real time. It's why leaders like Secretary Pete Hegseth have championed solutions like ours to promote the warrior ethos through innovation, not bureaucracy. Finally, I urge this committee to recognize the national leadership opportunity before us. This aligns directly with the MAHA movement and positions Texas as the national model for integrating lifestyle and performance medicine into military policy. Let's be the state that sets the standard, not the one trying to catch up. Let's not let Oklahoma or Florida beat us to it. Thank you for your leadership and for your support of a stronger, healthier, more resilient Texas force. Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. I yield to questions.
Members, Representative Louderback.
Look, I believe in investing in health. Obviously, I think the military, in my experience with Texas Military Forces on the border for a year, was they work very hard. And they're very proud of what they do, and they've done a heck of a job for us down there the last 4 years. It's almost like they're too busy to train to go into a physical fitness regimen, or they're so busy that it may only be 45 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. So it was very, because their task was huge. So what they were to build fence, to build just any number of things down there, they were required to do. But let's go into some things that probably are very important about this bill for the state to get involved in this and spend the kind of dollars we want to spend on this to have a ready force. So, Ms. Hammond, what are the estimated costs and the cost savings estimate of this program on an annual basis?
Yeah, so Mr. Hitchens could probably answer in regards to the app, but in regards to like a fitness facility, really, if you're looking at creating fitness facilities, right now we have 65 armories or National Guard facilities around the state, providing exercise equipment for that. That's going to be somewhere between $1,000 to $3,000 per site. And then also to include gym memberships. So if you look inside the bill there, it talks about having a gym membership that can range from anywhere from $9 if you're going to go to Planet Fitness. Don't drop the weights there, but if you're going to go to Planet Fitness, that's going to be $9 all the way up to $30 for a Gold's Gym, and that's going to be for every member. But really, the cost itself, or the most important piece of this, like you said, when you're really busy, when you're out there on the mission on Operation Lone Star, as I served on Operation Lone Star as an officer down there. You were not going to have a gym around you at all. And so really having an app that can give you the workout plan, that can give you the nutritional plan as well, regardless if you have weights around, that's really where it lies in. And Mr. Hitchens can talk to that cost.
Well, for either one of you, how quickly can y'all roll this out?
Yes, sir. So we've actually been engaging with TMD since about...
You're saying Texas Military Department?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Since October of last year with their innovation department that's actually stationed within Capital Factory. And we already submitted a proposal that would roll this out. The actual app solution be a custom solution, an app, website for soldiers and commanders. It would be branded TMD Fit or whatever they felt appropriate. That would be done within 4 months. We would roll out to a beta group with about 200 soldiers over the next 2 to 4 months, and then fully operational across the force, 20,000 by January of 2026.
Does your model protect their privacy? Does it have the security safeguards in place?
Sir, I can assure you they are in place. Our first employer being HEB, they do not mess around with privacy and data, so that was our first test. We began working with the DoD in 2019. They are also very stringent on personal data and privacy, and that's why we're actually in the process of receiving the highest military cybersecurity credential called an authority to operate, ATO for short.
So we've got a pretty good fiscal note on this. What would this do for the state of Texas if we were to do this? What kind of position would that put us in if our state guard was supported like this?
So I think it would send a signal that Texas cares about its soldiers more than any other state, first of all. It would boost morale, but of course it would reduce costs related to absenteeism, medical costs while serving, and also medical costs once you're out of the force. You mentioned physical fitness, and I agree with you, sir. Down on the border, they are doing great physical fitness, and that is not the issue that we're encountering in many cases. We see sleep as one of the key issues, and our app addresses that. We also track mood so that a commander can know the morale of its troops. Also, nutrition is a key factor. We actually have integrated AI that allows you to take a picture of your food and quickly get the caloric, protein, and key nutrient content.
Sleep, what is that here in the house? I'm not sure what that is. Okay, I just want maybe
Y'all are failing.
Maybe you could
Sorry to say,
define
sir.
that for us a little bit better. Okay.
Sir, I would like to say just a few minutes in regards to that to answer that question. So, well, many people don't know, on Operation Lone Star, the soldiers and airmen are not forced or not coerced to do actually PT. So when you're down there on Operation Lone Star, you're only covered on through workers' comp on the 10-hour shift. They're temporary state active duty or state employees. Therefore, a company commander cannot mandate physical fitness training after hours. Your hours, say like you are going to be on there on the river, looking on the river, you're there for 10 hours. The company commander cannot make you work out afterwards. So what we're seeing is actually an eroding of readiness standards on Operation Lone Star, which is about between 4,100 and 4,700, which is about a quarter of our soldiers. As I said before, the fitness standards, like I've been in almost 22 years. I was almost in 22 years. I was a drill sergeant back in 2008, so I was the one that was screaming in people's faces, trying to make soldiers or citizens turn citizens into soldiers. And the standards themselves have actually slowly decreased within the last 20 years. And we can see it now. That data that was just published last week showed that the Army National Guard, not just the National Guard, but also the reserves are at 68% overweight or obese. And to talk what Mr. Hitchens talked about in regards to cost, there was an additional study that was done or released last year that showed that due to all the unforeseen circumstances of being not fit, it cost the military almost $1.35 billion. So this is going to be, like, we see this as a fiscal note to pay for this app or to pay for these services. But at the end of the day, we're also making sure that we're not going to be paying for other health or second or third effects from being unfit.
Thanks to both of you.
Members, any other questions for these witnesses? All right, thank you for being here. Colonel, we have another question up here for you. I want to recall you if that's okay. Chair recalls Colonel Theo Unbehagen. Unbehagen?
Well, that's why I wanted to recall
Say-
him to
say it
see if
for
you
me
could say the
again.
name.
Unbehagen, okay. You're registered,
Unbehaven as well.
testifying on behalf of the Texas Military Department in neutral, is that correct?
Correct.
All righty.
Yeah, well, my question was
Vice Chair
certainly going to be to
Lopez.
see if the chairman could get your name right the second time. But and now, listen, we just heard some testimony. I'm a pretty simple guy. What we're looking at here is outsourcing PT. That's what it sounds like to me. Is that where we are?
So, sir, what I see as this bill is that there's great intention behind it. Everyone needs encouragement to focus on things that are very important. Physical, mental fitness, very important. Probably the most critical thing that we have to make sure that our people, which is our main asset, most important asset, are fit to fight. As far as does it outsource PT, this bill, no. To me, it makes it to where we're putting emphasis on providing tools. Now, do we need that? I don't know. I'm saying that we're meeting standards. We have standards already set. So that is what we go by, the standards by DOD. Every 6 months, take a PT test. You pass it, you don't. Remedial training. You have time to pass the test. Texas Military Department has answered the call for all requirements, whether it be state, national, international. As far as to your question, are we replacing PT? I don't see the need for that, and I don't see that that's what this is.
Well, thank you very much for your candid response. That's kind of the way I see it. around here we seem to categorize things differently. Sometimes things like this pop up. There's no question that there appears to be a need for more attention for our men and women to be in better shape. That's always a good goal. It was a goal back in the 70s and 80s when I was in the military. I'm sure that that goal hasn't changed. Question is who does it and who's going to do it on a consistent basis. And oftentimes, not oftentimes, all the time, in my opinion, it's always best done in-house with the leadership that we have in place. And it seems to me that this is more of a vendor bill than it is anything else, other than figuring out a way to make sure that you're given the tools within your organization to make sure that our troops are ready to perform their jobs to the best of their abilities, and for us to help them to do that.
Yes,
So
sir, you're
thank you.
absolutely correct.
You know, thank you very much for being here and coming back up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, members, any other questions? Colonel, thank you for being here, coming up twice. Maybe
Thank you.
you can charge overtime for that or something. Chair calls C.J. Grisham. Show your register to C.J. Grisham, testifying on behalf of yourself and for the bill. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes, Chairman.
Go ahead.
My name is C.J. Grisham, testifying on behalf of 4993. I'd like to thank Representative Isaac for bringing this. I'm a retired Army First Sergeant, so I'm going to probably be a little more abrasive than the Colonel is, but that's what our job is, to be more abrasive and to let the Colonels look good. We have had a problem in all of the services, not just Texas, not just National Guard, with military readiness and with physical fitness. I've known Pete since he was Lieutenant Hegseth to me. We've known each other almost 20 years now. I was his Alabama advisor to Vets for Freedom back in the 2000s. So it's good to see him up there, and I know his heart's in the right place. Here's why this bill is so important. There is a major difference between TMD and the active force. A lot of these soldiers who are in the National Guard, they don't live next to an armory. Some of them travel a few hours to get to their drill. That means they're not near. You can put a PT regiment and all this stuff in every single armory, and some soldiers still won't have access to it. So that's why this is important, that it allows and almost mandates that they go out and find these gym memberships for people so that, you know, when they do get called up, we don't have, you know, there's always a joke when I was in Iraq and Afghanistan. You could point out the National Guard troops from a mile away based on physical fitness. That shouldn't be the case. Our National Guard troops should have just as much opportunity. And the problem that we have right now is that National Guard troops, when they're doing their 2 weeks a year, 1 weekend a month, they're away from their unit most of the time. And this provides them additional tools. Now, I'll also say that not only is there a PT and a physical fitness deprivation, but instill leadership is also something that we really need to start strengthening a little bit. Because with good instill leadership, you're going to have good physical fitness. But this bill, I think, helps those National Guard troops more by giving them these gym memberships that they can have when they're in their far West Texas or far East Texas or up in the Panhandle. Because I know my nephew, who's in the National Guard, Texas National Guard, has to travel almost 2 hours to get to his unit training when he does his training, because he lives up in a little town called Memphis, Texas. And with that, I just urge that you pass this bill. I'll reiterate everything that was said up here and say ditto and hua to Mr. Lopez there.
My boy's in the Army, so we're hua all the way.
Hua. All right.
Members, any questions? All righty.
Thank
you
you
for being here. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on, for, or against House Bill 4993? If not, the chair recognizes Representative Isaac to close on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members. So this bill will give our service members more tools to help with their health and wellness. And if those tools include allowing them to go to a local gym, I don't consider that a vendor bill. Something that the Legislative Budget Board did is they said that this bill would require TMD to establish a fitness center, specialized equipment, and provide real-time health monitoring. That is not what this bill does. This is a decentralized plan so that our servicemen and women, no matter where they are, can monitor and have more tools for health and wellness. Because like Ammon said and like Mr. Grisham said, there's around 65 armories, and some of these men and women may be an hour, 45 minutes from an armory. And so I believe that these men and women need more tools to help them maintain their health and wellness. And with that, if there are no further questions, I close. So the
Members in-
fiscal note is wrong, way off on this bill.
Members, any other questions? All right, if there's no objection, the bill will be left pending. Hearing none, the bill is left pending. Sheriff, you ready? Chair lays out House Bill 5528, recognizes Representative Louderback to explain his bill.
Chairman, Vice Chair, members, thank you for giving me the opportunity to lay out House Bill 5528, establishing the Texas Law Enforcement Crisis Prevention Task Force. Local mental health authorities, which we call LMHAs, are local arms of the State Health and Human Services Commission that are designed to provide crisis mental health services. LMHAs frequently interact with local law enforcement to deal with persons experiencing a mental health crisis. These interactions between law enforcement and the LMHA present many opportunities for problems. I have dealt with many of these situations in the past. House Bill 5528 established a task force to examine solutions for better coordination between law enforcement and LMHAs. The task force is composed of governor appointees representing HHSC, Health and Human Services Commission, DPS, TCOL, local first responders, and advocacy groups. The task force will be supported jointly by HHSC and TCOL. The task force is charged with studying and issuing a report to examine gaps in coordination between law enforcement and LMHAs, funding solutions, best practices, and potential legislative action. Members, this is a critical first step examining a growing problem in our state. And to my knowledge, this would be the first time that we ever had something like this to examine a growing issue as we handle, and law enforcement is called upon to handle as a first responder to a mental health crisis after crisis after crisis. And I only think that by doing something this way, are we able to come together, find what works best, implement those statewide. There's 39 LMHAs in the state. They're all independent, and they all can do certain things differently. They're all very similar, but they can operate differently. So, my hope is by filing this bill and bringing this group together as a task force, that we can tackle an issue that we've needed to for a long time. With that, please let me close when I'm ready.
Sheriff, is this something that you have worked with all the law enforcement agencies on and gathered input and opinion?
Yes, I've had personally just a lot of experience with this from local LMHA board and statewide issues that we've dealt with, but we just really haven't been effective to make any changes. It's very difficult when the LMHAs are spread all over the state. And they, I'm with Gulf Bend LMHA, and there were 7 counties involved in that. So as we dealt with mental health crisis, as we were interacted with the LMHAs, there were always things, and we were always left with the impression that we could always achieve a higher level of efficiency, get law enforcement back to doing what they're paid to do, and get the LMHAs into more of what they were paid to do, which is take care of our mental health patients.
All right. Members, questions? Representative Pearson.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll just piggyback off of the chairman. Have you spoken to the governor's office about this?
Yes, this bill came from House Admin. So as a way to look at this program from back in November when I attended a workshop for the speaker, this was one of the topics, and so that's how this bill came about.
But it's a governor-appointed program. I understand it comes from House Admin, but has the governor's office weighed in? Have you talked to them about possibly?
I haven't talked to them probably since December to anyone from their office. So once the session started, I have not talked to anyone from there.
Okay, thank you.
Representative McLaughlin.
Sheriff, I think it's a good bill. As a mayor, dealt with mental health nonstop, fought it for 9 years, not having the help, not having the training and so forth. It's a can that we keep kicking down the road, and we finally need to quit kicking it and catch it and do something about it.
Well, thank you. Agreed. I think it is time to look at this and look at some standards that we can implement there. But it's only through dialogue and it's only through coming together can we hope to achieve something better.
All right. Okay. With that, we reserve the right to close. Chair calls Lee Johnson. Show you registered as Lee Johnson testifying on behalf of Texas Council of Community Centers and for the bill. Is that correct?
Yes, Chairman, that's correct.
All righty, please proceed.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. My name is Lee Johnson. I serve as the CEO for the Texas Council. We represent the 39 LMHAs across the state. And as you said, sir, I'm testifying in support of House Bill 5528. The voice of local law enforcement is critically important in the work of our members in the communities that they serve. Today, we are fortunate to have sheriffs or their designees serving on all of the local LMHA boards across the state of Texas. In fact, in 2005-2006 timeframe, following substantial cuts that were made to community mental health system during a state budget shortfall in 2003, the Sheriff's Association of Texas played a key role in securing the funds, the initial funding for the crisis response system that Texas is blessed to have today. Across the state, every LMHA has a mobile crisis outreach team, 24/7 crisis hotlines, and in communities that have successfully leveraged local and state resources, there are alternatives to inpatient care like crisis stabilization units, extended observation units, crisis respite units, and diversion centers. There are cost-effective programs. These are cost-effective programs that reduce reliance on more costly systems. They ease the burden on local law enforcement agencies, create best value for taxpayers, and result in better outcomes for people with serious mental illness in our state. This will come as no surprise to any of you on this committee. The demand for these services exceeds available capacity. Just one quick example, last session the legislature funded $28 million for diversion centers in Texas. HHSC released a competitive needs and capacity assessment asking LMHAs and their partners to submit shovel-ready projects. The total value of submitted projects exceeded $230 million. So to be clear, the legislature appropriated $28 million, and we're grateful for that, but the local need exceeded $230 million. So I'll just, in closing, Mr. Chairman and members, we have a long way to go to ensure outpatient treatment, and the crisis response system in our state has the capacity it needs to provide mental health treatment for people when and where they need it. We're grateful to Representative Lauterbach for raising these issues, filing this excellent bill, and creating the space for us to continue working collaboratively with our law enforcement and other local partners to continue making progress on these issues. Thank you all very much. Be glad to answer any questions.
Members, any questions? Sheriff Lauterbach.
So, Mr. Johnson, just as a matter to kind of date how long I've been involved in this, how did those sheriffs get on those boards?
Those sheriffs got on those boards by a bill that Chair Colcourse passed two sessions ago.
Who took that bill to her?
Well, and I know exactly who took that bill to her. You did, Representative. And today we are really fortunate to have those voices, as you well know. And I think back even to your time as president of Sheriff Association and all the work that's been done over the years to strengthen that voice. Very often we find that it's the voice of local law enforcement that has helped to articulate these needs in a way that just the mental health practitioners in the world cannot do. And that voice comes with a lot of credibility, as you well know, sir.
We've done a lot of things. We brought in a lot of money to you. We worked on this for a long time. But what we haven't done is bring statewide focus on it. We haven't brought a statewide task force to look at this objectively as a state and try to come up with a set of standards that may serve all of us better. And I think that's the overall goal on what we're going to do. Serve you, serve us, try to get law enforcement back, try to get y'all to take care of those folks, and I think the whole state can stand to gain on this whole thing.
Yes, sir. I think you're 100% correct on that. And, we talk a lot about the three legs of the stool. You've got to have inpatient capacity, You've got to have outpatient treatment for adults and kids, and you have to have crisis response capacity. And, you know, this legislature and previous legislatures have done a magnificent job of looking at that inpatient care piece. We've got more progress that's happening every day on construction projects and investments that have been made there. But we've also got to look at outpatient treatment capacity and the crisis response system, because those are the very services that keep people from landing in jail in the first place. And I think this bill is in a magnificent way, could create that synergy that we've all been working on for a very long time to help make forward progress on this issue. So we're really grateful for this opportunity. Thank you, Representative.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Members, any other questions for this witness? All right, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate you all.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak on, for, or against House Bill 5528? If not, Chair recognizes Representative Louderback to close on the bill.
I close.
All right, if there's no objection, the bill will be left pending. Is there objection? Hearing none, the bill is left pending. Chair lays out House Bill 2956 and recognizes Representative McLaughlin to explain his bill. You can testify, you can lay it out from there or wherever you want.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. I'm here to lay out House Bill 2956, which creates the Family Violence Registration Program under the Department of Public Safety. The rise in domestic violence across our state is unacceptable. National figures show that 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have experienced some form of physical violence by an intimate partner. Even more alarming, the rate of Texas women killed by intimate partners has doubled since 2013. Although legislation cannot outright stop these crimes, we have a responsibility to take serious measures that can help prevent future attacks of family violence. HB 2956 addresses that responsibility by requiring DPS to maintain a centralized database of individuals who are 17 or older and who have been either convicted of an offense involving family violence or received deferred adjudication for such an offense. Eligible offenses include cases where there was affirmative findings of family violence under the Code of Criminal Procedure, continuous violence against a family within a 12-month period, certain assaultive, sexual, kidnapping, or trafficking offenses committed against a family member, dating partner, or household member, and violations of court orders related to family violence and related protective measures. The registration requirement lasts for 10 years from the most recent conviction or adjudication, with an option for the individual to petition the court for exemption based on rehabilitation. Importantly, the bill includes strong victim protection provisions. No phone numbers, social security numbers, or employment information are made public. Victim identities are explicitly shielded from public disclosure. This database will provide an essential tool for helping Texans make informed decisions in their personal relationships and avoid becoming victims of repeat violence. House Bill 2956 builds on the framework we passed last session with HB 5202. It's a targeted, common sense tool to protect Texans and help stop repeat violence before it happens. I'm happy to take questions and reserve the right to close.
Members, any questions on this bill? All right, we reserve your oath. Chair recognizes Representative Pearson.
Thank you, Chair. Representative McLaughlin, I understand what you're trying to do here. Anytime, and perhaps it's just the libertarian in me, whenever the government is creating a database on people, we should always pause and check for unintended consequences. And if private companies are already doing it, and I see there is a fiscal note of $8 million per biennium, and there are dozens upon dozens of private companies. I mean, every young woman I know in the dating world does a background check on whoever they're dating, and these things come up. So I was just curious as to why you think government needs to create a database when there's, at the tune of $8 million per biennium, when there's dozens of private companies who are already doing this.
Well, that physical note just came out, the 8 million, because it wasn't, when it first came out, there was no physical note to it, and that came out, we were given that yesterday, I believe, on the physical note. I may be wrong on that, but when we first came out, there wasn't a physical note, because DPS already has the databases, and it's just adding one more deal to it. Where I got this was from young ladies in Laredo, Texas, and Webb County that have had experience with dating and so forth, and come to find out the men they were dating would have been abusive. Everybody may not have access to that computer to check that deal. But again, we become a society of no accountability anymore. If we continue to just turn the other cheek or say it's okay and not do anything and don't start holding people accountable, maybe that person will think twice before he hits this woman, or a woman hits a man, or beats a child, if they know they're going to get held accountable and they're going to have to register and their picture's going to be out there for God and everybody to see. It's a tough deal, but we've got to start having accountability, in my opinion, anymore. We just don't do that.
But if they don't have access to a computer to use all the entities, the dozens of entities that do this, how are they going to access the database?
Well, I mean, in Uvalde and in Webb County too, same thing. Most of the people end up going to the public library to use the computer systems that are there during the time they're open, and they'll check. Some do with phones now. You can just about check anything, but I mean, I wasn't aware there were any private websites you could do this, but I haven't searched either.
Okay, yeah, there are dozens and dozens of websites to do searches for the reasons that you've stated. Like I said, most of the young women I know who are dating actively use those sites to find out who they're dating. So I was just curious on why we needed the government to duplicate those efforts at this big of an expense.
Members, any other questions? All righty, we reserve your right to close. Chair calls Jennifer, is it Mudge? Okay, Jennifer Mudge, registered on behalf of the Texas Council on Family Violence and neutral on the bill but not testifying. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on, for, or against House Bill 2956? If not, the chair recognizes Representative McLaughlin to close on the bill.
Texans shouldn't have to find out about someone's violent past the hard way. HB 2956 gives them the information they need to protect themselves and their families. I close.
All right, members, any other questions? All right, if there's no objection, the bill will be left pending. Is there objection? Hearing none, the bill is left pending. There she is. Chair lays out House Bill 3009 and recognizes Representative McLaughlin to explain his bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. House Bill 3009 seeks to close a dangerous gap in public safety and protecting Texas from violent offenders who are unlawfully present in our country. We are fortunate today to have President Trump, who is once again taking the border seriously and working to restore law and order after years of chaos. But we know from experience it only takes one administration like the Biden administration to undo progress overnight. We can't afford to be caught off guard again. HB 3009 is about making sure that Texas has permanent safeguards in place, regardless of who sits in the White House. This bill will require the Department of Public Safety to maintain a registration database for individuals who are unlawfully present in the United States and have been convicted of violent offenses involving the use, attempted use, or threatened use of force or deadly force against another person. I want to make it crystal clear, this bill is not about tracking all legal immigrants in the state. This is about just getting our hands on legal immigrants who have committed violent crimes and pose a threat to Texans. This is a common sense bill. The department would track key information, including full name, aliases and date of birth, a physical description and recent photo, a list of violent offenses an individual was convicted of, whether they were discharged, placed on community supervision, or released on parole, and when available, their last known location. If someone crosses into our country illegally, commits a violent act and is released back into our communities, law enforcement needs to know exactly who they are and where they are. The database is a tool that can help local law enforcement agencies stop crime from violent illegal immigrants. We cannot count on Washington to fix this for us. We have to protect Texas ourselves. I'm happy to address any questions and reserve the right to close.
Members, any questions for Representative McLaughlin? All right, we'll reserve your right to close. Is there anyone wishing to testify on, for, or against House Bill 3009? If not, the chair recognizes Representative McLaughlin to close on his bill.
Members, we all know how quickly national leadership can change. Right now, we have a president who's restoring order at the border, but we can't bet Texas's future on Washington doing the right thing. House Bill 3009 is about permanent common sense protections that put Texas families first. I respectfully ask for your support.
Members, any questions? If there's no objection, the bill will be left pending. If there is there objection, hearing none, the bill is left pending. Members, I want to vote on two measures here real quick. One I want to reconsider, and then okay. All right, the chair lays out as pending business House Bill 3846 by Representative Louderback. Members, this is the bill we heard previously relating to the authority of a reserve peace officer. The chair offers a committee substitute. Is there objection to the adoption of the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted.
3846.
3846. The chair moves that House Bill 3846, as substituted, be reported favorably to the full House with a recommendation that it do pass and be printed. The clerk will call the roll.
Chairman Hefner,
Aye.
Vice Chair Lopez,
No.
Canales, Cortez, Isaac, Durazio, Lauterbach, McLaughlin, Holt, Pearson, Hicklin.
There being 7 ayes and 1 nay, the motion prevails. All right, the chair moves to reconsider the vote by which House Bill 3552 was reported from the committee. House Bill 3552 is the bill we voted on this morning relating to the criminal conduct involving the theft or unauthorized possession of copper or brass and to the sale of copper or brass material to recycling entities, creating criminal offenses, providing an administrative penalty. Is there objection to reconsideration of the vote? Hearing none, the motion prevails. The chair moves that House Bill 3552, as substituted, be reported favorably to the full House with a recommendation that it do pass and be printed. The clerk will call the roll.
Chairman Hefner,
Aye.
Vice Chair Lopez,
Aye.
Canales, Cortez, Isaac, Durazio, Lauterbach, McLaughlin, Holt, Pearson, Hicklin.
There being 8 ayes and 0 nays, the motion prevails. And members, I was hoping to take up another measure, but I'm waiting on the confirmation on a committee substitute. And so y'all be prepared for a formal tomorrow on the floor, and if not tomorrow, Friday. But so we may take up some of these bills that we've heard so we can get them through the process. Members, that concludes today's agenda. Is there any other further business before the committee to address? If not, the chair moves to adjourn. Is there objection? Hearing none, the committee stands adjourned at 9:55, subject to call of the chair.